So my total here is 3/8. And again, that is the length of just half of the sine curve. So if I double that, 3/8 and 3/8, my entire period must therefore be 6/8 or 3/4. So it's the same thing as it was in the previous problem, that the period is 3/4 pi. So since 2 pi divided by b is equal to the period, which is 3 pi over 4, I cross multiply and I get 8 pi equals 3 pi b. Divide those sides by 3 pi, and b equals 8/3. And so my equation is, I'll put that up here, y equals 2 times the sine of 8/3 times x plus pi over 4 minus 3. Right, let's do some more. Let's do 2 more here. This asks us to find the equation for cosine. Again, I need to draw my axis. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So halfway would be 2. So I draw my axis, and I always double check that it's the same distance above, 1, 2, and below, 1, 2. Always check that. I'm always amazed at people who turn in stuff where they'll put the axis somewhere where it's obviously not the same above and below, so always double check that. And so it's 2 above and 2 below. That is automatically my A value. And my axis is at +1. I went up 1, so it's 1 for the D value. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark my key points. And for cosine, that's the only one that I see. And it looks like it's moved to the right 3 pi. So C value is going to be negative 3 pi. And then I've got to figure out what my period is in order to find my B value. Well, I don't have a full sine, well, I kind of have a full sine curve here. But what I can do is I can just take one hump of the sine curve, one of them. From pi to 5 pi is 4 pi. And if I double 4 pi, I get 8 pi. So the period is 8 pi. And remember, 2 pi over b equals the period. Cross multiply. 2 pi equals 8 pi b. Solving for b, so I divide both sides by 8 pi. B equals 2/8, which is 1/4. So the b value is 1/4. Therefore, my equation is y equals 2 times the cosine of 1/4 times x minus 3 pi plus 1. Let's go down here, do this one for cosine. We could also do number 5 for sine. I'll go ahead and do that with you, just to help you be able to look at it for sine as well. So for sine of x, A, B, C, and D, a lot of it's the same. The A value is the same, the B value is the same, and the D value is the same. The only thing we have to still look at is the C value. My starting place for sine would be right here, and that's to the right pi, which means minus pi for the c value, and therefore my equation for sine is y equals 2 times the sine of 1/4 times x minus pi plus 1. I just thought we should go ahead and do it for both, just so you get that practice. We'll do the same thing here, and I'll do it from the start. Okay, first thing I have to do is draw my axis. From top to bottom, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Halfway would be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here is going to be my axis. I double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my amplitude is 4. My axis is at -3. And let's now do my key points. And my starting place for cosine is always my mountaintops. For sine, it's on the axis going up. So these are the same. And here's mine for sine. So since this would be halfway, half of a half is a fourth. So for sine, it's moved to the right, pi over 4. So my c value is negative pi over 4. For cosine, it's left or right, pi over 2. So it's plus or minus pi over 2. Now let's figure out the period. I would probably, for the period, use this cosine curve right here. I'll highlight it so you can see which one I'm using. Because I know that this is half of a pi and this is half of a pi, which is a whole pi. So since my period equals pi, that means 2 pi over b has to equal pi. 2 divided by 2 would be 1 pi. So I know my b value has to be 2. If that doesn't make sense to you, cross multiply. And you would get 2 pi equals b pi. We're solving for b, so divide both sides by pi. The pi's cancel, and b equals 2. Now I'm ready to write my equations. Y equals 4 times the sine of 2 times x minus pi over 4 minus 3. And for cosine, y equals 4 cosine of 2 times x plus or minus pi over 2 minus 3.